and welcome to Falls from Iron. Please don't forget to like, comment on, and share this stream to your social media platforms. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't done so already, and don't forget to hit that bell icon. You'll be notified of any new content as and when it is uploaded to the channel. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you very much indeed for your support. You are here for the next installment of Mount Matty Rushmore, and if you are not familiar with this concept, allow me to fill you in. So we here at Falls from Iron, out of the goodness of our heart, are going to donate to our guest a virtual Mount Rushmore where they have to carve diligently with their own hands the heads of 4 West Ham players that they have seen during their time supporting the club. Now, they may or may not be the best and most skilled players. They may choose to focus on cult heroes, for example, as opposed to legends. They may choose academy graduates. They may even choose bad boys. They could even choose someone just on the basis that they like them as a person, or indeed any combination of these genres. It's their mountain. They can adorn it as they see fit, and they will explain their reasoning for this. And as you can see, my guest today, ladies and gentlemen, is Lucas from American Hammers. How are you, sir?
I am absolutely fantastic, Gatesy. Thank you for having me. This was a very tough task for me because, like I told you earlier, I didn't want to be that guy that had Bobby Moore, Mark Noble, Kevin Nolan, Trevor Brooking. I wanted to try and mix it up a little bit. I did see the one with Russ, and I thought his was really good, and I liked his approach. I tried to angle that a little bit. And I think the 4 I chose were good. My angle, basically, I wanted to go with cult heroes, but people that love the club and has never stained the club. They're good ambassadors and good players. That's the kind of angle I wanted to go with.
So you're going with the good guys.
Yes.
Well, I know the 4 guys you've mentioned. I'm not too sure about one of them, whether everyone's going to agree that he was a good guy on the pitch. Anyway, I'm sure off the pitch he was a lovely guy, but on the pitch maybe not so much. Well, anyway, we'll get into that, Lucas. We'll get into that, and obviously you can explain all your reasoning for your choices. So, Lucas, as I say, you've got your mountain face. It's there. You're going to go out there with your hammer in one hand, your chisel in the other, and with sweat and toil at your fingertips, you are going to carve out these 4 heads. So, may I ask you, what's the first one you're going to carve out, my friend, and why?
The first one I'm going to go with is Julian Dix.
Yes, this is the one.
While I have not watched him personally, I've seen highlights and some full matches on YouTube, obviously. I've only been watching West Ham now for coming up on 8 years. I started in 2015. Yeah, I was very, very tempted to put Mario Zarate because that was my first ever favorite player when I first started watching. But he just not enough panache for me in this type of video. But I do love the man. But with Julian Dix, I almost kind of looked at this as a 5-a-side, but not really. I needed someone who would bring passion, grit, and quality. And again, like I said, a good ambassador for the club, someone who loves the club and never really shows any disdain or talks badly about the club. That's very important to me. And as Russ said in his video, I do like a player that comes around twice. I love a boomerang player because that shows how much he likes us.
Well, he came back as a player from having left us to go to Liverpool, and he then came back as assistant manager when Slaven Bilic came in 2015. So he actually had 3 spells at the club in one way, shape, or form.
And what you just said was really tough for me because I had a couple angles I wanted to go. Because I tell people all the time, even though I never watched him play, or I've never seen most of these players play, I like to think I have an old school football mentality mind at heart. And Stuart Pierce was right there for the choosing as well for me, just because I don't know, I just loved the way he played. And I was thinking of a cheeky little like 2-for-1 a manager that we've had who also played for us, because I also loved Slaven Bilic. I was thinking of doing a little twofer on the Mount Rushmore, but I don't think I played it safe. But those are my reasons with Julian Dix. I just, like I said, the way he represents the club on and off the pitch, he strong, nasty, gritty, captain mentality, and I mean, he was a hell of a player, and he just wasn't, as people like to say nowadays, a passion merchant. He was a hell of a player.
Oh, his left foot, mate. Honestly, he could play passes, crossfield balls, 50, 60 yards,
like it was nothing
at all, onto a sixpence, easy peasy. But similarly, he, as well as it being precise, he could also, when the situation was right, he could hit a shot. He could hit that ball, and it was moving like an exocet. He was super powerful. I mean, his penalty taking. I mean, his attitude was just hit it as hard as possible. I mean,
Terminator was no nonsense, absolutely no nonsense, and that's really like my brand of football. Don't get me wrong, I like seeing beautiful passes and like a build up from the back, but there's something about those no nonsense defenders and players that just it's just like black coffee to me. It really gets me going, wakes me up. Just something you love to see. And like we were saying with this penalties, like there's just no thinking. The goalkeeper knew what was coming, and they knew they weren't going to stop it. Because in America, when it comes to American football, I like to when the punter punts the ball really far, we call those piss missiles. And he would just, when it came to the penalty spot, the goalkeeper knew, everyone knew, it's coming right down the middle or top bins at 100 miles an hour. You're not stopping it.
Good luck. If you get in the way, well, it's one of those.
It's on you, not him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, he was just a very, very talented footballer. How he never got an England cap. Well, I know why it didn't happen. I think everybody knows it. It was because obviously he had disciplinary problems on the field over a number of years in Claret and Blue. It's quite interesting because I know that when he was at Liverpool, he all of a sudden his disciplinary record cleaned up remarkably, and then when he came back, I think in his second debut for the club, he got a yellow card straight away, and it was like,
it's his bastard iron. You can't escape it.
Well, you could argue that. You could argue it's the sort of like the top club bias coming to the fore there, but. Yeah, I mean, so Julian Dix, he's the first name that you've gone out and you've carved. You've taken hours of toil.
It was a tough one because, like I said, I didn't want a passion merchant. Dare say, I did want someone with a captain's mentality, gritty, strong, but yet was a quality player. If I wanted to go with pure grit, hustle, desire, I probably easily could have gone Stuart Pierce. Not saying that he wasn't a great player, because he was, but like if I was going for just strict no nonsense, Stuart Pierce or like someone like Craig Dawson, I would have went for.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people watching this will commend you on your choice of Julian Dix as your first head that you've carved into your Matty Rushmore. But you've got 3 left. So you might think that your hands are there's blisters, there's blood, and
we've just started.
You've only got 25% of the way of the work done. You got another 3 heads to carve, sunshine. So who's your second choice?
Second one I'll go with. I feel like not a lot of people will have this one, but I feel like ever since he's come to West Ham, he's been a bit underappreciated. Under several managers, always seems to have played kind of like Mark Noble in a way, but not to that degree. He always seemed to find his way on the pitch. He played wherever he needed to, and he is, at the end of the day, our record Premier League goal scorer. I am going Michail Antonio. Yeah,
Michail Antonio. As you say, he is our Premier League record goal scorer, and he deserves a certain amount of credit for that. I know, as you say, he's not everybody's cup of tea. There are times that I've watched him, both before he was deployed as a striker. When, this is a guy that once upon a time was deployed as a right back, He's played at right back. He's played right wing, left wing. He's played through the middle.
Mm-hmm.
He's someone that whatever you think of him in terms of his skill attributes, the one thing you can't deny is that he gives all for the cause. He's very unorthodox. I don't think half the time he knows what he's doing, which probably causes as many problems for him as it does for opposition teams. And he can frustrate the living daylights out of you, but he's someone that leaves it all on the pitch.
He's got that panache that not a lot of people have. And sometimes that is the X factor on the pitch. As an American, I have been watching the U.S. men's national team longer than I've been watching West Ham. And back in the day, I would say like 2008, 2010, I would always say, like, with the U.S. men's national team, it's just a bunch of athletes on the pitch playing football. But now it's like there are a bunch of athletes that know how to play football. And with Michail Antonio, he kind of fit that mold for me back in the day a little bit, but he does have that extra bit of quality. And there's just some, like I said, there's some things that he does on the pitch that no other footballer can do. Like, I haven't seen anyone as big as him, athletic, strong, pacey. And mind you, he's not the most technically gifted. He is unorthodox. He is awkward at times, but that's what makes him Michail Antonio, and that's what sets him aside from other people, and that's how he gets his goals sometimes. And every once in a while he does show that bit of class, that bit of quality, like his assist to Souček when he just held the ball up after the throw-in from Soufal, just a cheeky little flick to him, and we score like that. That's all we can ask for him at the end of the day for me. But I love what he offers, and not a selfish player, under Bilic, winger, right back. I mean, that was some of the craziest times watching Michail Antonio play right back. And I will say the one thing I do miss the most, I do miss him flying in and scoring some headers. He was like the slamming salmon. He was Craig Dawson-esque flying through the air.
Yeah, no, I remember when he first came to the club, a lot of his goals came aerially, and he, like you say, very, very, very unorthodox, very difficult for opposition players to play against. Low centre of gravity, strong. Yes, like I say, a lot of the time, sometimes he could trap the ball further than he could kick it, to be fair. But like I say, he's always been a player that has, whether he's had a good game, a bad game, the one thing you can't say that he's not given is effort. And maybe quality is lacking, but the effort is always there. And he's
never complained about where he's played. I think it goes under the radar how selfless he is. And one big thing that I like to highlight and like to remind people when they get mad at Antonio, like he's our only striker, yada, yada, yada. People forget he came out in the press with the most this is the most un-Premier League striker quote of all time, verbatim. The man literally said, "We need to go out and get another striker. I need help." And I think that takes a lot to say for a striker, because he's, at the end of the day, he's an attacking player. He became our number 9. I'm sure he wants to play every single match, but it's just not realistic for someone like him, who we all know he's had his injury problems, because he does go 110% all the time. And then another big reason, like I told you before with my Mount Rushmore, he's a great ambassador for the club. He always talks so highly of us and the fans, even when we do berate him sometimes for a poor performance. But like, he could have easily left West Ham at any time if he wanted, but he stuck it out. He's been a fantastic servant for us. He's played anywhere he's asked, and when he broke the record for us for most Premier League goals in our club's history, it was a beautiful moment for me. And of course, how do we not like the geezer celebrations? He's world class. He's different gravy. He is absolute mustard when it comes to his ideas. And I'm really hoping we could see him and Lucas Paqueta cook something up, because it could be something legendary. But Michail Antonio, I mean, he's an absolute top man in my opinion, and just a shining example of the type of players you want in your club. Everyone says it over and over again. We echo it all the time. As long as you give 110% at West Ham, we can put your qualities aside. But with Michail Antonio, like, I love the way he represents us, represents the club, always speaks so highly about us. And at the end of the day, he's a good player and just such a West Ham player through and through. And yeah, there's not enough things I could say how much I love him. He's a great servant at the end of the day, and I'm happy he's one of ours.
Sounds like a bit of a man crush you got there, my friend.
I love all of our players, to be fair. I could have probably went on for 30 minutes about Craig Dawson. But I mean, you know how it is. It's West Ham. You fall in love with a lot of players, and sometimes you can't explain why. That's the strange thing, isn't it?
Again,
for me, like I said, a lot of us, we love some players that they're not that great technically, but the way they fight for the badge, the way they graft it's something unexplainable, because you don't get that everywhere. Like Liverpool, City, like literally any of like the big six, most of the time you have just a bunch of talented players that they get by on their talent. As to other clubs outside the top six, you have like a handful of guys that like they're there to work hard, and they do have like that one thing they're very solid at that adds to the recipe. But with us, obviously, we love gravitating towards players that work hard and they have that little bit of panache. I'm going to say panache a lot because I do love saying that word. Very cheeky English word I've picked up, and I love it.
I was going to say, if you had a bet with someone to see how many times you can weave into this broadcast the word panache, I think that's about the third or fourth time I've heard it.
Oh, at least 7. I think you've miscounted.
Fair. Well, the next player that we're going to talk about, I wonder, could possibly the word panache be attributed to name number 3 out of the 4 that you're going to select for your Mount Matty Rushmore?
I'm trying to decide which one I want to go with next, because they all have the same theme, really. So I'm trying to come up with different ways to explain my love and appreciation and respect for them as a footballer alone. So I think I'll leave. In my opinion, I think he might be the most skilled and all around great for the club. But this next one is going to be more ambassador, but of course he was a great player in his own right. I'm going to go with Carlton Cole.
Carlton Cole.
I mean, what else is there to say about Coley that has not been said? He is the definition of a top man. He practically, literally is an ambassador of this club, and he goes so over and beyond to just say so many great things about our club, even when things are going wrong. Like, he somehow, in the midst of bad times, always seemed to find the right words and keep the image of West Ham afloat in a positive light, if that makes sense. And even when he's contracted to the club as a coach, like when things would go wrong, he's so good with words and always find a way to just not let it get completely terrible. Like when there's bad things going on and everyone's saying horrible things, and even some players are, I wouldn't say being negative, but they're being real. Like Carlton Cole just rises from the ashes and makes something good out of nothing. And I think out of all the players that on my Mount Rushmore, he has the biggest connection with the fan base. The guy is, again, he's an absolute top man. I saw the other day there was a poor woman whose dad is in practically a hospice, and
yeah, I saw this.
Just out of nowhere, Carlton Cole replies to a tweet, and I know it's just a tweet, but that goes such a long way to some people, and he does that all the time. And he talks to the new signings and the videos, and I'm sure he does way more than just the YouTube gig for the players. But he is almost, I would say, he's a bit under a liaison. Like he makes sure they're fitted in. He shows them around, shows them what West Ham really is, and he's just such a great guy. And I haven't even talked about his ability on the pitch. Like, in his own right, he was a very good player with very good credentials. His history of clubs was good. Like, he was no pushover. And sometimes it's hard to believe he's only made 256 appearances. It feels like West Ham was his only club.
And he's obviously got a bit of a legendary, well, whether legendary is, but he has a legendary moment. I'm not saying he was in the legends category of the Moore, Hurst, Peters, but he has a legendary moment within the history of the club at that match at Wembley Stadium in 2012 in the playoff final. He obviously got the opening goal. Yes, he didn't. It wasn't the winning goal, but it was the goal that set us on the road to the Premier League. Yeah, we know that Tom Ince obviously got an equaliser early into the second half. Carlton Cole scored in the first. Vazte got the winner with minutes of the game left to play. But
he did take one for the team. He got absolutely wrecked by the goalkeeper.
Yep, he did. And obviously, again, another little thing that happened in the history of Carlton Cole, he left the club. His contract wasn't renewed. He went away. There was a little bit of a striker crisis at the club months after he'd moved on, and all right, he hadn't managed to find a club. So you could probably say it was a little bit of a marriage of convenience. But at the end of the day, he didn't feel that he had been wronged by the club or anything like that, by his contract not being renewed. He felt comfortable in saying, okay, fine, I'll come back and help the club out on a sort of like a short-term basis, and stayed for a little bit longer besides. And he's still at the club. I mean, he's still, obviously, as you say, he does a lot of the media work. When we sign a new player, he's there doing the sort of like the on the YouTube channel, little bits and pieces. And he's obviously involved behind the scenes with some coaching of some of the youth teams. So he's clearly, he's one of those players, a bit like, and I think Russ, when he did his one, referenced Ginger Collins. He wasn't someone that, in the valleys, deepest, darkest Wales. Yeah. He didn't grow up sort of like supporting the boys in claret and blue from afar. No, far from it. But he obviously came to the club and learned what it meant, what West Ham as a club meant, what they meant to the community, the fans, what they expected. And Carlton Cole, exactly the same thing. Yeah, he didn't grow up a West Ham fan. I'm fairly confident. He was from sort of like Crystal Palace, Croydon, that sort of neck of the woods in his youth. But he now gets it. He's now he's got West Ham in his heart. You cut him open, he'll bleed claret and blue, no doubt about it. Good choice.
It's a great it's great insight because like you said, Russ, he proves it. I mean, Ginger Pele, he's always at the matches. He's always back. He's always involved, and it does speak. It speaks loudly to the type of experience they've had, the type of club we are. Because I mean, who the hell plays 257 times for West Ham and then comes back, coaches, does the media for us, and again, just a big reason why I picked him. Such a great ambassador, speaks so highly and positive of us, even when things are bad or good. And he is a pretty solid color commentator for BT Sport, which I love that personally. And because we don't have enough of those color commentators praising us up. And I just like the good energy he's always bringing. Joe Cole is good as well, but Carlton Cole he always seems to make it his number one priority to keep us in the best light possible, which is so he doesn't have to do that at all. Even as an employee or a coach, he could be brutally honest and say this and that, but he chooses to stay positive, which a lot of us should probably take note of and do more. But that's what makes Coley special. He's just so positive, always talking great about us, and he's just a great servant, a great player who will be remembered forever.
Mate, I don't think I could really add an awful lot to that. I think, yeah, skill-wise, was he on a level of some of the strikers we've had down the years? Was he a Tony Cottee? Was he a Frank McAvenny? Was he a Dean Ashton? Probably not. But again, same as Antonio, same as Dix, the one thing you can never ever accuse Carlton Cole of is that he didn't sweat for the team. He didn't work himself into the ground over a 90-minute period for the cause of West Ham United progressing and in the next round of the cup or winning 3 points or whatever the objective of the exercise was. He gave everything that he had in his locker to West Ham United Football Club and the fans that paid hard-earned money week on week to watch him play over many years. He won all of his England caps for won whilst he was at West Ham. So
and he was a then and there guy. He didn't look down the road. He didn't look in the past. He was always in the moment. Every match was big for him, no matter the circumstance, and he gave his all every single time. There was no like, oh, we've got a match coming up on Sunday. I think I might just breeze through this one because the one on Sunday is bigger. No, every match was big for him, and like you said, as a West Ham supporter, that's all we asked for. Every match, 110%, bare minimum. Whatever happens after that, so be it.
Absolutely. Well, you are 75% of the way. You have carved diligently with your own hands, which must be in pieces by now. It has to be said.
They're bleeding. They're bleeding to the core.
I must insist because our viewers insist upon it, and they're very, very high standards that they expect. So, Lucas, I'm going to have to ask you once more, go to the face of your mountain with your hammer and your chisel and carve out the fourth and final head. Who have you got?
I'm going to go. I wanted to save this one for last because I think out of all four, he's the most skillful, yet he carries the same tone, the same aspects, and the same mission is what I set out for this Mount Rushmore for, and I'm going to go Angelo Ogbonna.
The Italian stallion.
And I have to get this out of the way. First, we're going to get this out of the way. Great servant, of course. 176 appearances for a club. Someone that came from Juventus, which we never really have that. We don't get players from clubs like that. So
unless they're knackered, like 38 maybe, something like that.
And he was one of the first players that I saw and sort of connected with. Like when I told you before, Mario Zarate was my first favorite player. Like, I didn't really know the legend of Mark Noble. I didn't know what he was about at first, obviously, but I picked up very quick. But like Angelo Ogbonna, just watching him these past 7 years, 7 seasons, he's kind of it's funny to say because I kind of relate to it a little bit after being over in England, and I'm now coming back in a very quick span of time. I was only here 5 minutes ago, it seems. Yeah. I was taking you down to Kelly's on the Roman Road for a bit of pie mash and liquor. And now I'm back. And what I feel like I'm getting at, Angelo Ogbonna, in the 7 years that he's been here, he has turned into the Italian Cockney. And it's funny when you hear him speak English, he's starting to use the Cockney slang. And his accent is changing a little bit. And there's something about that to me. As an Italian, like, he's full-blooded Italian. Like, there's something beautiful in that to me. And on top of that, he, on his day, it's declined a little bit now, sadly, because of injury. But, I mean, Angelo Ogbonna, in my opinion, this has to be one of the club's best center backs that we've had. He has been so reliable. He's so good. He's different gravy in my opinion. And he, again, just such a good ambassador. Kind of the same with Carlton Cole. Like when Skamaka came in, he made him feel right at home. Just a great ambassador, great quality player. And like I said, it's something to behold when you have a player like Angelo Ogbonna for so long, and he kind of turns into one of us, one of you. And I like to resonate with that a little bit, like with my journey. And it's kind of beautiful to see with a footballer, and I can connect with that, obviously, as being a West Ham supporter from America. And Angelo Ogbonna to me just encapsulates everything with all these players that I've talked about all into one. Like if Angelo Ogbonna just didn't like become Cockney all of a sudden, he probably doesn't make this list, but like just from seeing his videos and his reactions and how he's talking to people in English and everything, it is just not only so funny, but it is really like it's almost heart-throbbing stuff, because who the hell expects some Italian from Torino and Juventus to pull up to West Ham, pull up at Rush Green from Juventus, like, oh brother, where am I at right now? And then 7 years later, he is literally one of us, and just
one of the boys.
Exactly. And again, I have no doubt in my mind that he is going to be Carlton Cole-esque when it comes to his ambassadorship of this club. And I really cannot say enough about Angelo Ogbonna. Just, again, top man, his panache. Just, he's a lovely guy.
That in there.
I had to, because really, some of the times I get lost in a player's personality and the way they fight for the club, and I really forget about how good they are as a footballer. Because, like I've said many times, and you can resonate with this, like, I just want players that play hard. And then, like, you fall in love with these players, not for their footballing ability, but for their work ethic, the way they treat people, the way they talk to people, the way they talk about the club, and their ability, their football ability, goes on the back burner for me. And then I think, I was like, oh my gosh, he was a tidy player. He was a bit of a plur. But Angelo Ogbonna to me just encapsulates everything great about my Mount Rushmore. And who doesn't love an Italian?
There you go.
Especially an Italian defender. We all know they get better with age. And I'm telling you right now, I still have faith in Ogbonna. I still have faith if he because I don't think he's 100% right now. I would say he's probably about 80, 85. Once he gets back to 100%, I still think there's something in the tank, and there's a role for him at this club if he wants it. And there's a part of me that really hopes he ends his career with us, because it would be just a beautiful ending to everything I've said about him practically becoming a full-blown Italian Cockney at this point.
Well, I got to hand it to you, Lucas. I mean, you've been at this mountain face for ages, months, toiling away. Your hands are in pieces. They're absolutely battered beyond belief. But I'm going to pull back the curtain, ladies.
They're gone.
And here it is. Look at that.
It is absolutely beautiful.
Craftsmanship. Honestly. There you go. From left to right, you've got Julian Dix, you've got Michail Antonio, you've got Angelo Ogbonna, and you've got Carlton Cole. They are.
That's a beautiful mountain, isn't it?
For eternity on Lucas's Mount Matty Rushmore. Lucas, that is some quality stonemasonry there, mate. Honestly, that's brilliant.
I tried my hardest. My hands are gone, but it's beautiful to look at. Behind all that grit and graft and work ethic, some good-looking geezers up there at the end of the day.
Unlike us two. Well, what can you do? It is what it is. But, Lucas, I got to thank you for giving up your time to come onto the channel to give us your version of your Mount Matty Rushmore at personal cost to yourself as well as your time, but also the damage it's done to your little paws there. It has been noted your diligence to the cause, and I thank you for that. And for you dear people watching at home, I'd like to implore you to please don't forget to like, comment on and share this stream to your social media platforms. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't done so already, and make sure you hit that bell icon and you'll be notified of any new content, be it Mount Matty Rushmore's next episode, or maybe something else like our match previews, our match reviews. There's so much stuff going on the channel. There's lots of stuff bubbling away in the background. As always, guys, we thank you very much indeed for your support in this matter. And Lucas, we will finish it as we always do, where I ask you one very, very simple question. My friend, what are we?
We are massive.
That'll do me, mate. Come on, you Irons.
That's a really nice baseball cap you've got, Lucas.